keeping us on an even keel here, keeping the cart moving forward, and I'd like to thank him for everything he's done for us for 8 months.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
I don't know if any other school committee
I'll
would like to
second
make any comments, but you've been a pleasure to work with for the last 8 months, and we
Thank you
appreciate
very
everything
much.
you've done, especially keeping the new school cart moving forward for the new /high school / middle school
Yeah.
/ hybrid.
Keith, I think you've done a tremendous job too, other than sending away half the administrative team. I think you've done a fantastic job. If we waited much longer, we would have no administrators at all. Maybe no teachers.
No team, right.
But you've been a breath of fresh air, and
Thank you.
it's been great working with
Thank you very much.
I'm going to miss your ties. Are you going to donate them?
No?
Oh, okay.
And Keith also invited us all, and I'm sure this is open to the public, to attend his spin classes that he
Absolutely.
teaches. Where do you do spin classes?
LA Fitness in Stoneham.
Okay.
Let me know when you want to come. Get your pass.
All right. I don't think I can make it, but thanks for the invite.
Busy that night.
Yeah. Okay, now let's go to continued business. We have an update on the fiscal year 11 budget.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal. I guess it's just to remind the committee that the budget is always a work in progress, and what we have done is, as we have replaced administrators and replaced teachers, replaced the superintendent, we have plugged in the salary, the actual salary that the new people are going to earn in North Reading versus what was in the budget. And if you'll remember, we had anticipated a $25,000 savings in those salaries, which we're not going to have any problem in the administrative salaries sitting at $25,000. The teacher salaries, we're still in the process of hiring, and so it's we had I think $99,000 in salary differential, and we're going to be very close to that. The principals have done a good job in recommending to me candidates who are very, very qualified, but also what I had said to them was, if the person going out is in the master's column, you can hire master's step 1 or below. If it's in the bachelor's column, bachelor's step 1. Now, obviously, if they had an outstanding candidate, we found a way to hire that person, but they've been very, very good, and I think the committee, when we're all said and done, will be happy for 2 reasons. One is the quality of the people we're bringing in; it's up to the North Reading standard, and 2, the fact that the principals were very budget conscious when they went through this.
Now, in terms of teacher hiring, has most of it been completed, or will Kathleen now step in, and are there still a number of positions to be filled?
Actually, I'm meeting with 2 people tomorrow who are long-term subs. I think the only position that has not yet been filled is 4th grade at the little school, and that's actually not going to close for, I don't think, till the end of this week.
Okay.
So probably Kathleen, that will be the one person I think that Kathleen has to deal with. Now we also have the assistant director of PPS.
Right.
And that position is still open, and we have the director of curriculum and technology, and that position is still open. So all those will go through.
Okay.
Kathleen.
Okay. Great. Any questions on the budget? Great. Little school principal results.
Yeah, the last time I was here, I told you that we had 2 finalists for the little school, and we determined. Kathleen and I met and discussed this. It's my appointment, but obviously I didn't want to appoint somebody that she couldn't live with. We were both in agreement without any problem. It wasn't an argument or anything like that, that Chris Molly should be the principal. So we have appointed Miss Molly, and she's accepted the position, and I expect her to call me either Tuesday or Wednesday to finalize the contract. But it's a pretty straightforward contract. As you know, there's a salary scale. We're going to put her on step 1. The terms of the contract are laid out in the agreement. And so it's not going to be a big issue finalizing the contract. And that's the position that's open at the little school. She's a 3rd grade teacher, but the 3rd grade had the 5 sections.
Oh, right.
And then, and so she would have gone up to the 4th grade. So that's why we're looking for a 4th grade position. And I would just like to thank the folks on the screening committee, because that was a really compressed search from the time we closed the opening was closed, and then we went through all the interviewing, the cutting down and the interview, and it was all done in about a week and a half. So it was very, very compressed, and I think they did a really good job on it. I think the committee did a fine job.
I think in general, we've done a great job, not we, but we as a district have done a great job filling the open positions that came up quite rapidly. I know we have 2 more to fill, but we obviously have time to get those people into place.
Right.
I think we just received Ms. Bowman's resignation maybe a week and a half ago because she had to settle her contract terms with Manchester Essex. So
Right.
I think we've really done a great job getting people in, quality people to fill these positions. That's great. Next, now Keith, Dr. Manville has said many times how he's enjoyed being here, but I swear he's had his superintendent transition line item on here since the first school committee meeting he oversaw, so I really don't know what to believe here.
Back in November, transition.
One last time, Dr. Manville.
If the committee doesn't object, I will yield to Ms. Willis, because she's the one who's transitioning in, and we all know I'm transitioning out.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to begin by thanking Keith Manville for all of the support. He has welcomed me wholeheartedly and has provided all kinds of support as we have started this transition since the beginning, the middle of April. The first email that I received from Keith was on April 23rd, and from there we've been in contact. I went through my calendar just to see. We've had 11 phone calls, I've had 5 on-site meetings with him, I've had a meeting with Carl, I've had a meeting with Pam, I've had a meeting today with Nancy McGuire, our attorney. I had an opportunity to participate in the hiring of the PPS director. I've also participated on all of the site visits for the hiring of the new principal at the little school. I've met with the Teachers Association, and all because Keith has managed to facilitate these kinds of opportunities for me to get to know this district before starting. So again, I really thank Keith for a smooth transition, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Great.
Starting on Thursday.
Great. Sounds good.
Move, Keith, won't be able to blame you for anything.
You'll find something. I'm confident you'll
Jerry,
find
there's a
something.
10-day grace period, just so you know.
Great, thanks. Okay, next we have on to continued business, review of proposed chemical health policy, and this is something that we brought up a couple of meetings ago. The policy subcommittee had worked on some changes. I know that Mr. Bowers is still in the middle of working through those changes, but tonight we also have Nancy McGuire here from our law firm, and I think we'd like to, Nancy gave us an in-depth review of some of answers to some of our questions, but if you could summarize, and then we could ask questions, and if Mr. Bowers wants to make any statements about, or any more statements about where we're going, that'd be great. So
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here with you tonight. And I'd like to just ditto and echo the comments regarding Keith, too. It's been a pleasure of working with him these last few months, and he certainly efficiently handled a lot of the remaining issues we had with the contract negotiations and some of the related association issues, and really thank you very much, Keith.
We can't go live on this?
Gee, we'll make sure we promote what time the showings are.
Thank you.
When I reviewed the proposed changes, they really fall into, think of it as 2 categories. You have the standard category, which would be the proposal or the question about extending for the full year, because that deals with what authority you have over whom and when. And so that's a standard issue. And the issue of who it applies to is the issue of whether you can have a violation for being in the presence of another person who could be violating the chemical abuse policy. So think of those as your 2 standard areas, because that deals with one level of authority. The other 2 proposed changes, as I understood them, were the lengthening of a penalty specifically for a violation which occurs in a motor vehicle of up to one year. So that's a penalty, and then the issue of a mitigation of the penalty or a requirement such as treatment or an educational program. So we've got standards and we've got penalties. So those are two different things. And if you look at the, maybe let's take this, the easier ones are the penalty. Let's use the penalty phase, for example. You as a school committee under state law determine what curricular activities and athletics you're going to offer and the requirements for participation. So you have that authority under state law. You also have the requirement, and that was sort of summarized in I think the third page of the memo. You make policy and you assist and make decisions about feedback on proper discipline. Basically, after the Educational Reform Act, the focus of an actual discipline penalty was the level of the principal in the school with getting feedback from the students. So prior to that, school committees did all of the enforcing, and then a lot of the different laws were changed to delegate a lot of authority to the superintendent and to the principal.
Just to illustrate that, last meeting, John Bernard, principal of high school, came to us with the handbook, proposed handbook for next year, and one of his proposed changes was from 3 days to a 6-day suspension for anyone caught with alcohol, tobacco products, or other products that violate the rules on school property or at a school-sponsored function. And he made that recommendation to us. We approved that recommendation because the feeling was that 3 days just had not been a sufficient penalty and was kind of being scoffed at because it wasn't serving its purpose. So that illustrates the point that John came to us
Right, it's his
with that recommendation. Right.
Procedurally, and the only sort of legal assessment I would make of that procedurally, the intent, the spirit of the Chapter 71, Section 37, was for input by the student council. Not veto power, not voting power, but information and involved in the process. Certainly from an educational perspective, a buy-in perspective, and understanding the reason why certain rules are imposed and penalties are imposed. So the general guidance is that principals are supposed to have conversations with the student council when they change an existing discipline code. So you have a handbook, and the law only requires you to cover certain types of penalties in the handbook, but encourages schools to obviously address it and determine what's appropriate and tailor it to their community, their students, their needs. Once you have those in there, you can, as a school committee, you can review policies at any time and you can change policies at any time. But the general guideline was that when the penalty is changed, a principal is supposed to discuss that with the student council. So I just set that out as kind of the third burner that I didn't talk about. I talked about standards and penalties. The third burner is the procedure. And it's not crystal clear of the breakdown of the procedures between school committees and principals and the student council since the change of that, but the guidelines by the DESE is that the intent of that and the legislative intent was to consult and discuss with the student council. You see that in examples with the development over the years with the passive breathalyzer policies for proms and activities and even during the school day. And breathalyzer policies are adopted